I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Anson Sowby.
What we always try to talk about is world building. How can a brand create this world that it's not always about paid media or organic media or PR or the 30-second spot? I'm not saying any of those things are wrong or right, but it's this world and it's this ecosystem of where a brand's going to show up in so many different ways and going to be consumed so differently.
Anson Sowby is the CEO and co-founder of Battery, a global creative company who developed a unique working model that's part Hollywood storytelling mixed with classic brand principles done the Silicon Valley way. The company has been celebrated as a 3-time Ad Age Agency of the Year with offices in Los Angeles, Chicago, Toronto, and Shanghai, and works with forward-thinking clients like the Anaheim Ducks, Land O'Lakes, Royal Bank of Canada, and Warner Brothers Games. My interview with Anson Sowby is coming right up, but first...
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more to reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant. Plus, with 1 billion members on LinkedIn, that means you'll have access to 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level executives. That's a lot of millions of the right people. Get started today and see how you can reach the right buyers with LinkedIn's enhanced targeting tools. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
The Hoover Dam wasn't built in a day, and the GMC Sierra lineup wasn't built overnight. Like every American achievement, building the Sierra 1500 Heavy Duty and EV was the result of dedication. A dedication to mastering the art of engineering. That's what this country has done for 250 years, and what GMC has done for over 100. We are professional grade. Visit GMC.com to learn more. Assembled in Flint and Hamtramck, Michigan, and Fort Wayne, Indiana, of U.S. and globally sourced parts.
Anson Sowby, welcome to On Brand.
Thanks for having me.
What I love about the description of Battery is that it's not just one analogy. It's kind of a mashup of 3 between classic brand principles, Hollywood storytelling, Silicon Valley. So you've piqued my interest, but take me down the next level of what that means and how it came to you.
Yeah, so we originally started in LA, right? So of course, whether we like it or not, entertainment is in our blood, and a lot of us had worked with the studios and gaming and things like that, and saw what was valuable, obviously, about just entertainment and the principles of bringing that to advertising. And then the next step was how to bring that to non-entertainment companies and non-studio companies. So, consumer packaged goods and in pharmaceuticals and food and beverage and things like that. Can you bring what's great about entertainment to something that is not inherently entertaining? And then, if we look to the north of us, up in Northern California, we always admire just how the Silicon Valley companies would work. And I realize they're such catchphrases, but the move fast and break things, always shipping the beta, be in prototype mode. So we thought, all right, how can we combine what's great about entertainment, but apply that to non-entertainment products and do it in a way that feels iterative and prototypey and pivoting and fast moving. So it was a bit of backgrounds, who we admired, and the clients we wanted to have.
I love that. So, speaking of clients, you've got a eclectic mix of brands, Warner Brothers games to Land O'Lakes. How does your approach via brand storytelling vary depending on kind of that wide variety of clients?
Yeah, it's so we'll apply those same principles. So the process is the same, but of course the application couldn't be more different between butter and and video games.
Yes.
What what we the CPGs of the world, they're so good at, or I should say, they're so good at focusing on the need of brand building and brand equity and brand principles. Whereas the entertainment world, that is not what they are. That's not what they first think about, right? They first think about the viewer or the player or the user and really how to connect with them. We said, all right, those are two really great principles. How do we bring those together? How do we make the CPGs of the world really think more about standing out and being entertaining? But then how do we help the entertainment companies think about, all right, how do we build a brand that'll last the test of time? Because, any video game is not meant to be just here for 1 year. They would hope these video games have 5, 10, long cycles. So it's bringing what each side does well and flipping it over the fence on both sides.
Of all of those things, again, you talked about kind of the Silicon Valley ethos. You talked about storytelling and your roots in a show business town. But actually, as I think about those three things that you've mashed up, classic brand building is almost, I would say, one of the ones that seems like it is a bit of a moving target. So, what does classic brand building mean to you, and how do you bring that to life at Battery?
Yeah, and we purposely liked using the word classic because that sure doesn't feel like it fits between entertainment and Silicon Valley. And in advertising, classic can be a bad word. God forbid we do something the way it was done, 5 years ago. But I think there's a time and a place for when classic actually, the principles of how to build a brand that lasts the test of time do not change. But of course, the
Right.
tactics and how we'll go good about it, and heaven knows culture changes and people change and taste change. So it's really about cherry picking what's good about that classic nature, and how to understand how a brand should shift and change over time. Like I look at myself, I sure dress differently than I did when I was a teenager. I probably talk differently, but inherently, a lot of my core is still the same person, but I sure deal with people differently. I might present myself differently. So I kind of think of that with brands where a lot of the core should change the same, unless obviously the product has completely changed. But, how a brand talks and walks and acts, that should absolutely change over time as the world, changes.
That's such a good point. As you talk about things changing, I think about storytelling as well. How is the future of storytelling evolving for brands, especially as we look at all the different ways in which content consumption is changing?
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, I was just saying yesterday that Netflix now set a goal to be a $1 trillion brand in, I think, by the year 2030, which is an audacious goal. But I guess if anyone can do it, it's Netflix. And you're even just seeing how they are changing, right? Adding the ad supported option, the different types of entertainment and content they do. I saw someone talking about how the next generation of filmmakers and entertainers are not bucking the trend that people are sitting there with a screen in their hand as they're watching something, and they're not trying to, like, all right, let me make it so compelling on the screen that they will put down their second screen. I think that train has left the station, and people will always have that second screen. And this next generation of entertainment is like, okay, how do we actually understand that they're going to be distracted and create that experience back and forth? And I think the old guard is saying that's horrible and that's, a travesty to entertainment. But the new guard is saying, well, no, I watch something while I have my phone in my hand. So how do I create that compelling balance between the two? And I just think we're going to see entertainment. How entertainment is consumed is just going to change so much, with the new generation having grown up that way.
Yeah, and it's such a challenging thing too in looking at kind of that moving target and meeting your audience where they are too. So, how do you calibrate strategy for a moving target?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's tough. What we always try to talk about is world building, right? How can a brand create this world that, it's not always about paid media or organic media or PR or the 30-second spot. I'm not saying any of those things are wrong or right, but it's this world and it's this ecosystem of where a brand's going to show up in so many different ways and going to be consumed so differently, especially with some brands that have their target audience can go from age 10 to age 90. I mean, how do you plan for that? So we have this notion of this world building and how to create this world that a brand can exist in and mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
So I get world building from a storytelling perspective, and certainly in the entertainment world. But what does world building look like for a brand?
Yeah, I think it's it's acknowledging that you're going to show up in a lot of different ways, that you probably have a lot of different consumers who are doing a lot of different things. And so, we talk about that as, okay, what is the role? Yeah, obviously, as a creative ad agency, we are producing creative assets. And so, okay, at what point in the world is our consumer or viewer or user, and how are they going to see different assets as opposed to the one master asset, the one big idea, and everything ladders up to that big idea. I think that's powerful in some instances, but that really is changing. Now, obviously, God knows the whole notion of matching luggage, has gone away to a certain extent, with a lot of brands. But just understanding that if I'm creating an asset, where is my user in the world and what's happening with them and how will they interact with something? It's taking that all into effect. But I don't know if anyone has truly cracked it. I just think we all need to understand that there's so many different things going on in this world of a brand and where different things can fit at different times, and they all have their different uses and purposes and consumption habits.
On Brand, we'll be right back after this.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more to reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant. Plus, with 1 billion members on LinkedIn, that means you'll have access to 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level executives. That's a lot of millions of the right people. Get started today and see how you can reach the right buyers with LinkedIn's enhanced targeting tools. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Summer's here, and Nordstrom has everything you need for your best dress season ever. From beach days and weddings to weekend getaways and your everyday wardrobe. Discover stylish options under $100 from tons of your favorite brands like Mango, Skims, Princess Polly, and Madewell. It's easy too with free shipping and free returns, in-store order pickup, and more. Shop today in stores, online at Nordstrom.com, or download the Nordstrom app.
Now, back to the show. So to shift gears slightly, we've talked about disruptive tech and creative work. And with the rise of AI, what do you see, or how do you see that impacting the role of creative agencies?
Yeah, I think there is no bigger impact, I don't think, than AI. I think there's so many different aspects that excite, let's say it better, that excite us, and also, let's be honest, that confuse us. That we don't know what is going to happen in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I think it's causing us to say, all right, let's say from a purely production and workflow and process standpoint, sure, you can just fit AI into little cracks and little bolt-ons, but we're trying to look at new ways of, all right, how do we, you know, how do we build something, a production process from the ground up using AI, right? How do we not just treat it as an efficiency tool, but purely build it from the ground up? And then on the creative side, I mean, there's already great AI tools that'll take something to 80% of the way done, and then humans just need to finish it. And then there's other aspects that I think AI is going to be the spark and the ignition that's going to light something and go. So I love the CEO of Microsoft. He says, sorry, be learn-it-alls, not know-it-alls.
Yeah.
So I think we're just always trying. I mean, anyone that says they know AI is full of so much crap, because no one knows it. But it is like, all right, how can we say, all right, if we got to break something down and completely pull it down to the studs and then rebuild it with AI, we got to be open to that, and that's tough. I think it's sure easier to kind of try to tap it and duct tape it on, or use it to fill the holes, but we got to be willing to break stuff down to the studs and rebuild it with AI, I think, in creative advertising, at least.
Yeah, yeah. So, in talking about things impacting the creative process and internal culture and creative vision, you're a global agency with offices in, like I said, Chicago, LA, Toronto, Shanghai. With that global scope, how do you maintain a consistent vision for the agency?
Yeah, it's we're planning a fun thing in the next couple months that we do every year, where we fly everyone into Vegas for a few days, and we actually include clients in that. And it 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 sounds so agency cliche, but it actually works. Like, we talk about our principles and our story of where we came from, and we do these brainstorming sessions directly with the clients. And then every quarter we'll have these town halls. But that's the trick. It's like, all right, yes, we've built a battery brand, and yes, we've built the battery story, but that shouldn't just rely with the founders or the senior staff. How does just a new person straight out of college contribute to that, and what does it mean to them, and how do they build? I mean, if we're preaching to brands, you got to be flexible. We've also got to be flexible. So it's that here's it's the principles, like being learn-it-alls, not know-it-alls. It's things like that we really try to preach, of like a way of understanding and being. And then, of course, the battery brand, and how everyone should own this and build it together. So we've got a whole line of values that I will not bore you with, but it goes from there.
Oh, well, I love it. And as we talk about brand storytelling, I feel like sometimes and I'm someone that talks about brand storytelling a ton. I feel like there's kind of this surface level acknowledgement of, yeah, that's an important thing. Yes, more story. Stories are critical. But sometimes people have trouble going down the next level and actually applying story to brands. So if someone's out there listening and thinking, "Oh gosh, that's me. I talk about story all the time and I'm not sure how we're actually bringing that to life." What's a good foothold for brands applying story in their work?
So, and I know it can come across as just nomenclature and like tomato, tomato, but that's why I like to talk about entertaining versus like storytelling. Because as advertisers, we don't always have the chance to tell a story in whatever asset or channel or avenue we're working on. But I think something should always be entertaining. And let me qualify entertaining. It doesn't necessarily just mean make someone laugh or cry or share. I think provide some type of utility or value to them. So we use that word entertaining as purposely a big umbrella net catch-all, because I think it's impossible to always be telling a story. But if it can provide some type of value or in an entertaining way, I think that's largely the job to be done.
Well, and that kind of brings everything back full circle to your organization and kind of the entertainment side of things and that influence. What being like, I love the idea of kind of a company town. What other sensibilities do you find from Hollywood applicable to the world of brand building?
Yeah, it's so funny that Hollywood can definitely be a good or a bad word,
Right,
depending
I
on
know. I kind
who
of
you're
kind of
talking
thought
to.
that as I was saying it.
And it's funny, every now and then I catch myself. I said, we bring Hollywood values. I thought, hold on, no, no, no.
Mm.
There are some really bad Hollywood values, that I'm very cognizant of in, here in the market. I think it's things like, always trying to understand, what what are the cultural trends and what is popular today, won't be popular tomorrow. Like I love, I don't know if you've seen Seth Rogen's new show on Apple Plus called The Studio, that completely makes fun of Hollywood. It completely makes fun of how movies are made and the relationship between an executive leader and a director and someone just trying, the politics that come in that. I think it has to be self-deprecating. We can't take ourselves so seriously, and that's why we always say to the non-entertainment brands that we're not an entertainment agency. We're not a Hollywood agency. I think that's why we lean so much on our folks in Toronto, in Chicago, to kind of provide some normalcy. Because yeah, you can drink the Kool-Aid out here, and it takes you to a bad place. You know, we're very cognizant of what the rest of the country thinks about Hollywood, and rightly so. I think it's that it's always finding that balance.
No, I think that's a great kind of nomenclature shift on bringing that over, but not necessarily being uh, an entertainment agency, but bringing the sensibilities from that to the creative work that you create as well. So, as we start to wrap things up, you saw my big smile at the Seth Rogen series that I'm enjoying as well, The Studio. But it's now time for me to ask you, Anson, for a brand that has made you smile recently.
So I just saw this 2 days ago because I was on a webinar and this brand presented. Uh, they're called Trust and Will, and it's a
Okay.
life trust and a will and estate planning company in San Diego. They have these. They just released this campaign, and it has a jingle, something like "Everybody's gonna die," and it was so clever because, like, wow. Number one, that's something that none of us want to deal with, our
No.
estate planning. And as I don't care who you are, and it can be the saddest thing to think about. And they've done this series of I know they're on TV. Just this new campaign of bringing levity and they're truly entertainment. The company's called Trust and Will. I wish I could remember what the campaign is called, but I remember it so specifically, and it's so clever. This jingle of "everybody's gonna die." I mean, it's just brilliant. And what a great sensibility to bring. I don't know what agency did that, but kudos to them, or if the brand did it internally. But if I didn't already have my Trust and Will, I would have gone and set it up with these guys. And a great name for a company, Trust and Will. So their last category I would have ever thought that would make me laugh.
Well, and I think that kind of circles back to everything that we've been talking about, kind of that idea of being entertaining. And I think, we love to point to the, Liquid Deaths for doing remarkable work. But it's easy to forget that they're water. And something like Trust and Will, why can't you do something that comes at it straight on and is memorable and smile worthy as well? Anson, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'd say best is LinkedIn. The latest of what I'm doing and got going on is search my name on LinkedIn, and that's where I am.
Awesome. Well, we will link up to that in our show notes, which folks can find at onbrandpodcast.com. Anson Sowby, thanks for being on brand with us.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Hennika Watkins-Porter hosts The Entrepreneurial You, empowering entrepreneurs with insights on leadership, business, and success. Hennika, tell listeners what to expect from your show.
So we provide innovative business strategies and practical solutions to common entrepreneurial challenges.
And where can people subscribe?
Find us at hennikawatkisporter.com, as well as the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net, or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.